Okay, we're here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Immortals After Dark read along. And I am so excited because this time I have Jen from the Book Refuge and Helen from What Helen Reads with me. So thank you guys for joining me. I know it's kind of late for Helen right now, but we tried to do it a little bit earlier so it wouldn't be too late like it was last time. But I was telling Helen right before you came on, Jen, was like, I didn't even get, I just looked at a list and did whatever tribe per month. And I'm like, oh, it's crazy that this month I did like the two villains, like in the same type of month. I'm like, oh, it worked out really good. So this is the one
I've been looking work out well, but that's also like the shift in the series too, because there's plenty more villains to come from this. So I wouldn't say anybody's squeaky clean at all anyway, except for like maybe Holly. Holly is like the only I mean, even Elizabeth, her family was into some illegal activities and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, this is the one I've been excited for because, I've always heard you talk about Lothaire. Mm-hmm. So, and you hear so much. So, and then even just reading the series, each book, how he's like featured and like he gets bigger and bigger in each book with his like machinations and like manipulations. And so I'm like, ooh, like, so I was very excited.
Yeah. Well, how do you run this? Do you have questions for us or you just want us to chat? I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Okay. So we'll start with the Dreams of a Dark Warrior. And I just have basic questions and we'll just talk, like I go too deep into it. But basically I just kind of ask first, like, what did you rate? I saw you were rereading it, Jen, which I was like, oh, cool. She reread it. Yes. What did you guys end up rating it? You guys at home, feel free to comment as you're logging in. I don't think that many people are on right now, but if you're watching this later too, let me know your ratings, comment if you watch it later. But what did you guys rate Dreams of a Dark Warrior?
So I rated it 4 stars, which has been pretty consistent up until this point. All of the books have been 4 stars.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I've just today filmed my wrap up for June. And I sort of said, it's a 5. It's really weird because no book has been a standout for me yet. Let's talk about that later. No book has been an absolute standout for me. They've all been really, really solid. But I think the series as a whole is a 5-star series. Mm-hmm. And I think Cretic Holly has done such a fantastic job of building this world and the love that you have for these characters. So what I love most about these books is just seeing all of the characters and that sense of kind of like they become your friends almost. So this book was actually really tough for me to read because I don't normally, I read a lot of mafia romances. I'm good with torture normally, but this one was pretty tough to read because I was like, these are my friends being hurt, and it was pretty.
Like with vivisections going on.
I know. I'm like, that's good.
Yeah, I think it's like the darkest one to me. Definitely, like it really took it to a totally different place. Like, so yeah. What about you, Jen?
Yeah, so my philosophy here, I'll just put this too. In general, for Cressley Cole, it's the same rule I have for Diana Gabaldon. They don't really have a rating for me. They all sit at 5-star. I put in like a 4.5 star, and I'll tell you like where that is. But in general, I don't really quibble with them because, and Helen, you touched on it. To me, this is an experience. It's why you can't read these out of order besides the first 4. I say that you can choose your order to start if one interests you more, but you really can't. And when you get to this point, you truly see why you can't, because it's like, if you skip to Lothaire, you don't know who Thad is. You don't understand who her is or the mission that Lothaire's had. So all of those things build upon each other. And that isn't something that we really put up with these days. Like, let's just be real. We don't put up with it. It's that, like, I don't know, each story you read, you want to be able to base the couple on just how you feel about them. And did you swoon for them? Do you love them and everything? But anyway, that's a long way to say, like, I ended out like, this one's like probably a 4.5 for me, because what's the aspect I was going to touch on? There was a specific reason too. It's that thing of like, you don't get to see them enough together. And I think in some of the other books, you do see the couple together more. Like in this series, she does make you wait till the last minute for HEAs in all of them. Like you're not going to get any happiness at all until the bitter, bitter end.
Yeah.
But in this one, there's a lot of like, I don't know how to say it. Because yes, there has to be flashbacks because you have to see her in love with him in all the different times. But truly, to me, they're all at 5 stars because, again, the same with my other favorite author ever, nobody else writes like them. There are aspects of this couple you'll see in other paranormal romance. You'll see in other things later on. But she is the standard of enemies to lovers. Tell me someone else who writes it like she does.
Yeah. And like, how does this relationship work? Like completely against all odds type of thing.
Right.
I think she's like I never read her before Immortals After Dark, and now it's like she's the best at writing paranormal romance. You know, like I never read anything like this. And even for books that are like the 4 stars, I'm like, it's the whole world building and how each book builds on itself, how each character becomes so much more. And so like each book has just become more impressive to me. So like I actually rated this 5 stars because I really loved it. You know, I love dark romance. And there were some really tough parts in this. And I see like so much hate for Declan Chase. But I think she did such a good job with like showing his reasons and showing his past and like what he went through and his conditioning and like all that kind of stuff. And, you know, to me, the Valkyries get kind of boring to me, honestly. Like the Valkyries kind of bore me. I'm just like, okay, another badass Valkyrie. But I really liked Reagan. Like, so it's like, I really thought this was dark and like you were saying, it's like, I was almost calling it like different phases, like MCU or something, where it's like taking in, like now we're at Torture Island, which I've heard Torture Island. You're like, what's going on here? And to have like Lothaire be captured, that was crazy. You know, just so much going on in this book. And it was so different than the other ones to me. So I think I just was really into it. Like I saw so many people like hate Declan Chase. And there's some bad stuff in it, but I don't know. I really loved it. Like I had a great time with it. So
I mean, when I read this one too, the first time, like I mean, I still love it. Like I said, it's 4.5 star. They're all 5. I don't rate. It's only the most recent ones that I've struggled more with because I feel like it's not the same thing, but they're all 5 stars. So I'm glad Declan deserves it. He's been tortured too. That's what people.
Yeah, he's had a bad life.
Yes,
many lives, I guess.
Yes.
This question is just kind of, I always have it in everyone, but what, like we kind of touched on it, like the world building, like this one, I think takes it in a totally different direction too, with like the Torture Island and the Order and all this stuff, like Berserkers. I found that like really interesting. Like she's always adding new elements. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I really like it, and I definitely see there's different, almost like story arcs, right? So up until it was the book before this one where we first knew that Immortals were going missing and that they were being taken to the island, and we saw all of that. But I feel like up until that point, it's all been about the ascension, right? It's like we know something's coming. We know, there's going to be this big battle. People are kind of amassing people on both sides. And now we're at a point where we've been introduced to a whole new raft of characters on this island. And we know we're going to have some of their romances in the next couple of books, right? So it feels like the next, because we're definitely just over the halfway mark now for the books that are out so far, right? So we've kind of transitioned, I think, to this new part. So I really like how each book is built on itself. We find out more every time. We get introduced to new characters every time, but they feel part of the same family, right? So they feel we're just gathering more and more friends. I like it.
Yeah. I really thought this took it to a whole new level. It like upped the game even more than like the previous books. Like they just kind of felt like so introductory, like to the world. And oh my gosh. This cat. they can't stay away from a computer, right? So like I think each book has gotten better and better and like more immersive, and like I'm interested, and it's always fascinating to like discover the different types of paranormal creatures and factions and all that kind of stuff is really really cool. And I liked the whole berserker kind of like that, and like the flashbacks and their whole like kind of story was interesting. But
yeah,
so
I like the mythology of the gods as well, right? Because we like, you know, obviously her father is Woden, and we kind of learn a bit more about that. And you know, we're sort of told he's sleeping right now, but maybe he's got a bit of a vendetta. We're not really sure. But then at the end, clearly, maybe something is still awake up there. Don't know.
Yeah, like, and I thought, because I found it interesting in like Lucia's or whatever one where she was like 12 and like rescued her and like left for her and everything. And so I found that like I was really interested in Reagan after that. So it was kind of cool to see that whole backstory.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because if you now look back to the beginning, there were some there's a main group of Valkyries that are introduced from the start of it, right? Like, who are the aunts to Emma? And Regan, you know, besides Fury, who will haunt us to this day, and you get more pieces of that mystery too about how that goes. But she was kind of the last one, and she's one of the like craziest ones in the beginning, like Regan is, and now you find out so much about the pain that she's been carrying and how guilty she feels. But because they're immortal and there are things they can kill and things they can do, you're really able to like stuff that down. And until she, you know, literally has it like ripped out of her, we get to see that soft center. But no, I think the world building is honestly like bar none in this, and that is how do I want to say this, like that is kind of the thing as I said, I think we're missing, because there are other series that are this immersive as well. I'm not saying truly she's the only one, like Sherilyn Kenyon's universe and Christine Feehan's universe. Those are just ones that I gave up over time. And Cressley Cole is kind of the only one I'm still holding into. I'm sure if I started from the beginning again in those, I would feel the same way. But I think she does a good job of actually replaying things, which can feel annoying if you do a binge like we are, like you probably are. You're like, oh my God, I've seen this scene 6 ways to Sunday. But if you remember, they came out very spread out. And not everyone does what we do these days and rereads all of them before. Like for me, I, you know, like I said, I didn't reread all of these. I have reread the series 3 times all the way through, but I hadn't reread this one. And so by revisiting all those things, that recalled, oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, I've seen that already. Oh yeah. And I think that's clever how she does it, because you see the scene from a different perspective, but it also reminds you what's happening, and it also reminds you how little time has passed. Right? You know, there's not much time that's passed since the series has started, and in Immortal Lives, that is a very short amount of time too. So anyway, I will let you keep going, but the world building is like, it's fabulous.
I think that's what makes this so good. It's really that, and you're like, how did she plot all this out? You like think of all the things that, you know, she had to like really, you know, it feels like she knew things like books back, you know, so it just feels like she really does such a good job. She was, you know, master class at like doing that. Since we were talking about Reagan, I'll put this up. What were your thoughts on Reagan?
So I think she's really interesting, right? Because before, I don't know if maybe it's just my perception, but like James just said, she was the crazy one, right? So we kind of like knew she was crazy. She was like Nix's sidekick. They're always going off doing crazy things. And you kind of also got the impression that she was a bit someone who like had a lot of men, right? So she was quite sexual kind of character. She was portrayed very much like she was, I don't know, had a lot of partners. And in this one, we discovered that she didn't at all. And I don't know if that was my misunderstanding of her character, but I very much felt that she was, very feminine and in touch with her femininity and her sexuality and stuff. And now we realize she's been waiting a long time. Right?
She's been true. Like, that's the thing I like about Regan is she comes off so loyal. Like, she's so loyal, to Lucia. Like, she's like loyal to everybody. And so I really like that about her. And I found her really interesting because like her whole, like, their, past, his past versions, reincarnated times, it's like I felt like she was into him, but she wasn't fully like in love with him till it got to like Declan Chase, like, and then it was like she fell in love with him. So I found that really interesting where but then she stayed true to him. She was never with anybody. But like I would get frustrated with the original. What was his name? Aiden, was it?
Aiden,
Yep.
Yeah, like I would get frustrated with his character compared to like Declan Chase. So like I don't know if that's the usual, but like I really actually liked her character a lot more than how I viewed her in the other books. So I think she did a really good job, like and just the kind of thing she had to live with her many years of having to watch this guy come back. No, okay, we're gonna have sex and then he's gonna die, and just have that happen over and over. But it kind of felt like it was all meant to get to Declan, like and their whole relationship. I felt like she finally like, fell in love with the guy for the first time, really, compared to the other ones.
Yeah, and I think that was, we'll probably get to it as well because you'll probably talk about the hero, but that was really interesting. I think how you're right. She was never 100% in love with Aiden, and all the previous reincarnations, they almost like once he got his memories back, it almost became Aiden, and his personality overwrote the other people's personalities. And in this one, Declan very much held on to his own personality, and he's like, I've got all Aiden's memories, but I'm not him. I'm my own person. And I think that was that was
really fascinating. The fact that like she was so worried about him getting taken over again, and then like. And then she didn't want him to remember, so she was holding off on things, and he was still Declan. Like he didn't, so it just felt like, of course, it was like the fated, coupling that they were like meant to be.
Yeah. I love Regan. I think that, the thing I love about Valkyries the most is their camaraderie for each other and their, willingness to just jump in and just get it done. There's not another way to say that. Like they're just ready to do it. I mean, their stubbornness is something that's always going to be tough in any situation when you're trying to get two strong-headed beings to like work together.
Yeah.
But I do like too how, and I mean, this is tough to say, but I do like how she gets broken in this one because she's forced to look at who she's become and is she really happy as how she is? And, if killing him off, really, would that make her happier? And it takes until a certain amount of torture for her to be faced with that,
Yeah.
So yeah, I like her. I mean, just be honest, she's not in my like top half of the heroines, though I love their story. Like I said, I love their story. I think this is one of the biggest, I always talk about like when you have true enemies to lovers with opposing aims, how do you get them? Like, because someone has to lose, you'd think, then for them to be together. And Cressley Cole is like the pinnacle of understanding how to do that. And their story is like the one where it's like he's literally the guy who vivisected people or oversaw it or oversaw the torture of who we think are good guys. And how can we be okay with him,
Yeah.
So, even more so than Lothaire, which we'll get to, because he's very much himself upon who he is, right? Whereas like Declan, he's human. So why is he evil like this, right? So anywho, I love every couple in their own way, but like she's not in my top half of the heroines in the series because they're all amazing, but
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did we think about Declan? Here's the
Wow.
here's the big guy here.
Yeah.
I didn't like him a lot to start with. I will say that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of sympathy for him when we found out what happened to him. I had a lot of sympathy for him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he ever fully redeems himself, because I think he's done a lot of bad stuff to a lot of good people, right? So I know and it's funny because throughout the book, people get sort of saying, you know, regret is going to be your middle name, and he doesn't get it to start off with, and later it absolutely is. You know, he regrets a lot of stuff, right? But while I do have a lot of sympathy for him, he's been through a lot. I also, like I said, I don't think he ever fully redeemed himself in my eyes.
Sure. I think that might have to be like an ongoing thing, you know, because
ongoing,
it's like how do you redeem that many how many acts he's done, you know, like you know, that's a long process. I do think I appreciated his suffering at the end a little bit, and watching him go through that and realize like this is my mate, this is my love, and like I really appreciated the struggle. But like to watch everything, to see everything that he'd been, you know, like he at a young age, he was like 17 when his when what happened to his parents. He was already kind of like a drug addict because he was trying to escape from like his crazy dreams and like weird stuff that he went through, and to be like torn apart basically. And that guy, is his name Wade? I'm trying to remember.
Webb, isn't it?
Webb. Yes. Okay. Like he like steps in and totally manipulates him and grooms him into like this killing machine, and like all of them, all Immortals, all of the, you know, people are bad. I did appreciate that he was not the one that was doing the vivisecting of Regan. Thank God. And then when he wakes up, he was like, and then he feels such regret, and like he was like, I was freaking doped up, like on drugs while she was getting tortured.
The thing I want to interject with, to just pose this, is that how many of the people we consider on the good side did he actually hurt? Because I know, but I'm saying he mostly killed the ones who were killing and raping humans, those who've hurt people. And it isn't until this very end that a few people we like are even in there. And how many of them did he actually directly do anything to? Just playing the advocate of like, right. Well, no. And I mean, I know that's splitting hairs when we're talking about a like systematic evil we think is happening, but it's only because we know that there are like witches and those that do good. But if you know, through this series, as you've read, like think even back to Mari, she'd never done a good thing until her book. Like she let people buy horrible spells from her, and that hurt people and curse people. And you know, there's this thing that like there are very few, as I said, true like pure people in this series. That's why I reference Holly to bring it up, because what I think Kresley does such an amazing job at is she makes us love them. So by this point, like we love those characters we've seen, or we're like, oh, we understand their journey now. But to the people doing this, even to Webb, but I'll withhold because there's a lot more about him still to come in the series. But like, they're all beings that manipulate and use humans for whatever they want to do. So again, this isn't a I just like
not all perfect, you know.
Exactly. And I mean, we think no one deserves to be like vivisected, but like there's a literally incubi and succubi there that sexually torture people until they're gone. There's ghouls, there's you know, most of the vampires, the
ones that went to McGrieve, right? Like was that like, I'm like, oh no. So now I want to get to that.
Sorry. There's two McGrieve brothers. And
I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Yeah, that one's McGrieve. Monroe. Okay. It's Monroe and McGrieve, but they're both McGrieve, so that's why it's like confusing. But one goes William McGrieve, and then like Monroe McGrieve is the other one. So you'll see, it's confusing. But yes, there's that one. And like, so anyway, my point is like I feel like a lot of it is that the stuff he's overseeing, he sees as righteous. Again, that doesn't make anyone good.
Yeah.
He believes in his cause, you know, like, which.
But I just think that I agree with Amber of like the torture of his own mind and the hell he's been living in. He doesn't see himself as good or righteous either. He just sees himself as trying to help with a balance of taking out the most evil of the evil, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just what I put forth is like, in my opinion, until Thad and the woman with her the little witch she's taking care of, the one who was just in Demon from the Dark, and then like one other, like the only like from the good side that are even like kidnapped and brought into this place, just to put out there. All the rest are like from the evil side who do torture and kill people.
Yeah.
But it's a good philosophical question though, because even I was upset that they were hurting my friends, but should, like you say, is it right to hurt anyone at all, even if we deem them evil?
Yeah.
Because it depends what side of the fence you're on, right? If you're on the evil side, all the evil people are your mates, right? So
yeah.
Well, I did think his a lot of like one thing that I loved at the end too was what he was willing to do with Lothaire to like to get them out of there and stuff, to let Lothaire, like to make, you know, the vows with Lothaire, to let him feed off of him, which is like, you know, he was, so I was like, he was stepping up and trying to do what he could. I think, I guess I'll put this up. What were your thoughts of Lothaire in this book? Like, I really thought it was amazing. Lothaire just gets so interesting in each book. Yeah. But I loved Lothaire and Thad in this. Like Thad, I guess that's another question I have, but like, what are your favorite like side characters? Yeah. I loved Thad, like, and I loved him just as like hero worship, which continues into Lothaire of like Lothaire of like,
he's my precious baby boy. Thad is my precious baby boy. I love him so much.
He's so sweet. He's like this young, you know,
so what I love in this one, let me put forth, and I'll do my very best to, obviously I know we read both of these ones for this, but in this one, when I first read this one, this is the longest period of time we're getting to look at Lothaire before his own book, okay? And there are some few like key things that pop off. One, I believe, I could be wrong, I would have to do a search. You guys tell me if you remember more recently. I believe this is the first time he calls Nyx Phoenix is in this one. I don't know if that's 100% right,
I think he did, and then but then I was like, was it Lothaire or this one that he did?
No, it's this one.
It was this one. Okay.
Right. Well, I know he says it in this because I just reread that one. But I mean, I'm thinking if it was previous in the series, and I think this one is it. So you get this clue that like when Regan hears that, she's like, no one knows that name. Right? Yeah. There's very few people from that time who do. And it really does show that like Lothaire and Phoenix are kind of peers apart from others in a lot of ways. She gets forethought to certain or she gets foreknowledge. I think they say foreknowledge, and he gets like they describe it in this one of like his is kind of a forced thing that he made happen through evil ways to be able to do that. But they both can't foresee their own selves, right? So whenever they feel like it, they can affect the other one. Yeah. They always say they want to kill the other one, but truly there's no one who knows them like each other. Anyway, now I'm bleeding into Lothaire a little bit, but I found that fascinating because it gives you those pieces of it. You also get these parts of his head where he's like, her, you know, we know that now he's thinking of it. And when you first read it, you probably do assume it's his fated mate, you know, which is correct in some ways. And now he's been waylaid and put in this prison. And, you know, it is awful. It's a horrible thing. He sees it as very inconvenient, very bad day. Yeah. But he also uses it as a chance to just keep collecting more favors. He's like, well, if I'm here, I'm
adding more to his book.
For my book. And I just think that's so interesting. And his interactions with Thad are fantastic. Like, I love the character of Thad, a complete innocent into this. And like I said, besides the little girl who's there and Thad, there is no innocent person on this island. That, again, that doesn't mean people deserve torture. But I also always try to keep in mind when we're in a story like this, like, even Lothaire, he's done awful things. And watching him, I think more it's just to me, then it's like a negotiation of like, how much pain do I have to live through to like get out of this one? Like, what's this one going to cost to get out of it? But anyway,
where he like takes on Declan's like memories, and to see like Lothaire kind of like affected by it showed you how effed up Declan's memories are. So
anyway,
I thought
the first time I read this, every little tidbit of Lothaire is you're just gobbling it up, because it's like, who is this being?
Yeah, and he's so old, like so much has passed. Like, what's his motivations? Like, it's just he's so intriguing that you're kind of wondering what's he up to. Like, kind of like where he says like it's like he can see 20 steps ahead, and so he can kind of figure out what he needs to do to kind of. Mom, your cat's gonna get out. She left the door open. My mom just came in.
There's also a few things that like get set up that he could never foresee. Like, he didn't foresee Thad, and there's going to be some interesting things that we get from that. So anyway, I'll let someone else take it. But I, of course, am the biggest Lothaire fangirl that there is. Yeah. But I do try to keep in mind that, I mean, he's one of the worst in some aspects. But
that's why I found it weird that people hated Declan Shays, but they forgive Lothaire everything. I'm like, Lothaire's done worse, right? Like Lothaire, and for many years. So it's like,
there's, as we say, Torture Island is something, right? This is a bit of what like Helen touched on. Is it's like, it's one thing when he's doing those things for his aims. And it's another when it's just a wholesale, we want to torture and dissect people to figure out how we can destroy a being. Like, Lothaire is trying to foresee his ultimate aim. And if you're in the way, he'll take you out or make things difficult for you. Yeah. Versus there's a whole island of people we're torturing. And I don't know. When we say, is it good to torture at all? That's we will have to stay out of that question, because I think there are some beings that deserve to be tortured for their entire existence, but this is paranormal, so they can take it. Who actually died? That's the other question.
Well, that's
the
horrible thing. Like the vivisection was bad, but then when they like had to deal with the after effect where they were like, well, we're gonna have to, I was like, oh my God. Like, that's when it got like really tough. And to watch Declan suffer through that too, where he's like that was brutal. And like he didn't really think about what they like, how it would heal over these things, and they have to like get it out, and tear apart their body to be, you're just like, so he's like seeing the full effect of like what it really did to somebody that he loves. So I thought that was really
anyway. What about Helen? What did you think of Lothaire?
Obviously I've been keeping a special eye on Lothaire, only because, and I don't think I would have paid as much attention to him up until this point had we not known there was a book, right? So I guess if you started this series before you knew there was a book on Lothaire, you probably wouldn't have noticed him quite so much. But obviously we've had our eye on him, and he's doubled, hasn't he? And we've seen, in some books we've not seen him at all, in some books we've seen him just a little bit, and some books he's had more of an impact. So in the last couple of books he's gradually been playing more of a role, and so obviously I was very interested in him and what he was doing. And you're right, we start to get a few more sneak peeks into his relationships with other people, and also this idea that he's been collecting debts. I think he's really introduced in here, and you're like, and I was thinking in my head, because Kresley Cole always comes up with these crazy scenarios at the end to resolve issues, like how these two people come together, and I'm like, how is he going to use some of his some of his debt to get out of whatever situation he's going to find himself in? And so I found that particularly interesting, trying to figure it out, because some of the debts that he had, like from a couple of books ago from Rydstrom, he said, I'll call on you for pretty much anything. And we don't know what that is. It could be his firstborn child, for all we know. He's agreed to it, and we're like, so what is he going to use these for? And then in my head I'm already thinking ahead to like, how are these debts going to be repaid? But I also think we got a glimpse of his humanity a little bit, right? Because we know he's been a baddie. He helped them. He yes, he was doing it for his own means, but he kind of helps them a little bit.
He helps them, betrays them, then helps them again.
It's like, if you're not, what is it? If you're not with me, then you're against me, right? So yeah, he's on no one's side, which is interesting.
Yeah. Did you catch in this one which lie he couldn't tell? That's always fun to see, is which lies he can't tell.
No.
Oh yeah, I found it really interesting, especially in Lothaire, is his Lothaire speak or whatever, where he like, I found that so entertaining, you know, where he's basically a liar, but he can't lie. So let me do my Lothaire speak to like get out of things.
Yeah. And that was when you get the peek that he likes Thad, because he's going to say thing like, I will kill you and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what? I can't? What are you talking about? Like, I love that kind of thing where he surprises himself with it, which I think is a great feature, obviously, that we'll see.
I also liked his advice that he like gave Declan, like, you got to go like let her wail out, like you get in a fight with her, wail it out, get passionate.
So ignore her. He says ignore her.
Yeah. Like, and he like, and it works. Like, so Lothaire helped him. Well, and like he's like kind of a creepy like voyeur too, where like he likes to watch people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so I found that entertaining too. But I have this one, which we kind of touched on, which was what your favorite side character is. I think that is just, you know, I loved that in this. So I can't wait to see more.
It is like when you remember, though, I always forget that it's him when we meet him because he's hurting himself in the corner. Yeah. And I always forget because that's so not his character for forever. Yeah. He's very much a comic relief, wonderful character. But to remember that he's in like shock and is hurting himself in the corner because he doesn't understand. And you were like, he's a child. He's a child.
Yeah. Well, like the older woman, like petting him, like
I know. Like, well, even the like when she puts her like jacket between it and his head because he's back, and I'm always like, oh my baby, like I'm always like, oh god, I forgot that's Thad. Until they like explain what he looks like, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like I said, only innocent one there. Okay, he's the only innocent one there, and it makes me so sad.
That's the one I was really mad at Declan for. You know, it's like sad.
Yeah, I agree because. Like you said, he's so young and he doesn't even know that he's immortal. And yet just because he wants to go out with the guy's daughter, he decides he's just going to put him in Torture Island. I just think, let him at least turn into an immortal first.
Well, that one wasn't it Webb's daughter's friend? Because it isn't. It isn't Webb's daughter. I'll just say that.
I assumed it was a different officer and they just sent him to that island.
I was like, I don't think that it's that, but yeah, they just like turned him in. And that one was scary because it's like, how did they know? Because he was extra strong. Like, was he sure? Or did you just not like him? You know, that's to me the devious one. And that's not even anyone we know who was just like, nope, you can't have my daughter. I'm like turning you in. And so sad. But did you catch also, I should put this out there, did you catch that who he lives with might not be who his family isn't where he grew up or anything? Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't.
That's important to remember. Okay. Because we've never seen a phantom. We still don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what it means. I'm saying like, you don't know what that means. We haven't heard of them. And we just know he's a half phantom.
Well, we've had a phantom, haven't we? Because one of the Roth brothers ends up with the phantom.
She like turns into
not the same.
That's like a different thing, though. I think.
Yeah, that is a phantom. She died.
Okay, so she was a ghost. Then...
Yeah, she's a ghost. Anyway, like I said, we haven't seen one yet. You haven't seen one yet, and also like he's a half phantom too. So. There's stuff about him.
Yeah, he's going to be definitely interesting.
The same way of like vampires, you can be born or you can be made. A phantom can be born or be made by death. And this doesn't spoil a thing for anything in the future. It's just in the book of lore type of thing, which you can buy actually, the book of lore, if you want to read it. Is that's why like Naomi, she can't touch anything because she died and became such. And so they're different. It's like a fork. It's like different species of it. But a phantom who's born will have different things they could do. Let's just say. And you
Can't
shall
wait.
learn more about him. But anyway, just remember, he was adopted, basically. We'll just remember that about that. Because we haven't seen the last of my sweet, precious baby. So, anywho.
Last note I want to touch on before we move on to Lothaire.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like the spicy scenes in this. Like, I really thought one of the sexiest scenes where they didn't even have sex was the bathroom scene or whatever. And like that whole, like, I loved it. I was like, oh, this is good. And then obviously when they really get after it, it was good too. I think Kresley Cole writes really good, like, spice, but it like fits in the story perfectly. And so I loved those scenes.
It's interesting too, because I used to think her books are not really that spicy.
No.
Until
Lothaire.
Let's be honest. So
that went to a crazy.
There's one other besides Lothaire that is that level of heat as Lothaire.
Yeah.
And really, there's usually only 1 or 2 scenes in the books because they're like either they can't touch each other or they hate each other.
They're at odds,
or they're a werewolf and they will kill you if they fuck you. Like there's But we have it in our mind that it's so good because she does emotionally appropriate scenes.
Mm-hmm. And you're waiting for it, and there's tension and like the long. So it's like it's not just thrown in there for to have spice.
Well, the characters are horny as fuck. Like, let's be honest. We think about the sex the whole time, but it usually only happens.
Yeah. Okay. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts you want to mention on this book, or do we want to move on to Lothaire?
I never my other favorite side character is the protector guy. I always forget about him.
Oh yeah.
It's always too late to like save them both.
Yeah, that poor guy. He suffered too, man.
Yeah, I always forget about him, and I really like that character. He's so yeah.
Okay, so Helen, do you have anything, or do you want to move on to Lothaire?
No, I think we can move on.
Okay, on to this crazy book. Okay. All right. So Lothaire, we've been waiting forever for him. He's here. Did it live up to the hype? I know it did for Jen because we already know it's their favorite.
That's why I'm here, by the way. So say what you feel, and I'll convince you that you're wrong. So
talk us into it if anybody didn't like it or get upset by him. Talk about it. So what did you think, Helen? Or rated it or whatever.
No, I really liked it. I did really like it. It was my favorite of all the ones I've read so far. But I gave it 4.5 stars. So I still wasn't committing to a 5-star for me. And the reason it lost half star for me, and I think there's good reason why it is as long as it is, but it was just too long for me. It took me 4. I mean,
is it the longest book, or are they all this long, Jen? Do you know?
No.
I don't know. They're all long.
Okay.
Like if you look at the length of the audiobook, they're all like between 14 to like 17 hours long. Like they're all long.
I think page count though, this is definitely the longest so far because they've been incrementally getting longer, I think. So they're still sitting around 550. This is like 600 pages almost. So it took me 4 nights to read it, and I really I was enjoying it, but I kind of just struggled to get all the way through it.
I think there's some slower pacing, I think, during certain parts, that might kind of make it a little bit slower in certain section or whatever. I listened to it on audiobook. So I flew through it, like, because once I started listening to these on audiobook, I didn't go back. Like it's so, I love his accent as Lothaire. Like, he's so good. Is it Robert
Peckoff? Yeah.
Oh God, he's so good. So I love the audiobooks. Like, I have
the man has literally done every variation of like a Eastern European all the way across the map. He's done everything. He's got Russian, Welsh, he's got Irish, he's got Scottish, he's got Spanish, he's got the South, he's got everything. Like,
his Southern accent for Ellie was just so over the top. It was like making me laugh. But I was like, okay.
I know. Let's be honest that Elizabeth's sexy scenes are a bit difficult the first time you hear them. Like, I'm used to them now, but her sexy voice is a little bit like, okay, Robert, we could have.
You can dial back the over the top hick Southern vibe you're going with.
Yeah, but that's what makes her charming. She's so opposite of him. But so Lothaire is obviously a 6-star book for me. Before I had 6-star books, this one was a 6-star book.
I gave it 5 stars. I almost wanted to do 6 stars, but I was frustrated with some of the things Lothaire did, which I know I'm supposed to be. And I was frustrated at the third act stuff. I was like, ugh.
I think too, I don't know. I think when you reread it someday, I think you will, because once you see too where this book fits within the overall like everything.
Yeah.
Oh God, this book is fantastic. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I think Lothaire is so interesting. I guess I'll go into that, like the hero. Like, so Lothaire, like, so complicated because he's an egotistical, conceited jerk, like misogynistic, whatever, all those things. But like, I loved him. Like, it's just amazing to see him brought low, and that his like fated mate would be this Appalachian like hit girl, you know. And he doesn't really know how to like behave properly or act or do any of these things. So I don't know. He's so funny too. Like his lines, like it's so funny. And then like some of my favorite parts in this were like when him and Nyx would have their like heart to heart. Nyx has been my favorite character throughout the entire series. And I guess it's supposed to end with Nyx maybe, because I want Nyx.
It's all assumption. She's never told us. It's all assumption. Yeah.
It's just all us guessing. Like, when are we getting Nyx? But
when you get to the end, we'll all together guess who we think it'll be. No one knows. Literally, we don't know. But there's some there's some characters you haven't met yet that I actually think it will be. But I'm sure you've heard the speculation. Many people thought it was going to be Lothaire and Nyx, and so there's a lot of people who were like upset.
I don't see them as like a couple. Like, I don't think they would be a couple at all. It's like more of like friends and like mutual people that have been around for these last 3,000 years, and like where it's like the black queen, white, you know, king, white queen thing. Like, I really love their dynamic. And I don't know. I loved that scene, like when he's kind of being an ass and Dacia or whatever, being not a great leader, that he wanted to be this leader. And I don't know, like, I just love it when she shows up.
I mean, this is important while we're talking about the hero. How about his backstory?
Yeah, let me go to the
that he's a born vampire.
Yeah.
And that he was a bastard. And that you now start to put together his inferiority complex and why he wants to be the king, and why he's become Lothaire, the enemy of old, to get that back.
Yeah, I found his backstory interesting because it's like I didn't even know about these Dacians, and like I always just thought, oh, he's this horde vampire, part of that crew. So then when you find out like what happened to him, and then what happened to his mother, and how he like makes a vow to his mother and all that kind of stuff. Which also I found interesting with this world building, where we've heard about it, like the vow to the lore throughout, like, but like now it's like even more like you see how important it is, where he makes these vows to the lore and he can't go back on them. But I found his backstory very interesting, and like his family is just so effed up, and the amount of stuff he's like been betrayed by everybody, you know, so you can see why he's looking out for number one. Like, that's who Lothaire is, you know. What about you, Helen?
Well, obviously I really like him. He's a great character. I had just actually a question, because I was just a bit confused, because obviously he's a born vampire, but his dad, like what I understand is vampires can't have sex until they're blooded. So how did his dad get his mom pregnant? Because it didn't seem to me that they were mates.
So Jen, I don't know if I'm right about this. I thought I read this somewhere when I was looking into it, because I was confused. I thought it was like his dad was really young when Lothaire's like mom went to him. So maybe his heart was still beating, or I might have that completely wrong. Because then didn't he mate with like a human too, or did he just pick her?
Yeah. I don't have this whole, like, I honestly don't know that. But if I'm remembering correctly, I do think that it was that case, because if you're a born vampire, you do, like, because it's referenced to by like it's that thing of like, until you reach this point where you stop aging, you're still able to use your parts. It's only once you have done that you literally freeze until you find them.
Yeah.
And so there's very few born vampires, that's a thing. They'll have memories of being able to, have sex and enjoy it still. Like, that's something I feel like doesn't get mentioned enough, is that Lothaire is basically sexless, though he feels the sexiest. Like, he's like literally asexual until he finds his bride. He just very much flirts with everything in his Lothaire way at the same time, because he fucks with people's heads and everything. But that would have to be something you have to look up. I don't stand by knowing or whatever, but I do know that it had to do with that, like, because there was at one time, right, a lot of vampires who were born. Now there's only those ones like left in Dacia. So I don't know what the rules were with that, but I know with like the maid ones, like, our Roth brothers, like, because they were killed and remade, they were immediately in that phase where they need to be blooded to come back, because they were, man, is what I believe anyway. So, yeah.
Good. But, so other than that was one question I had, if you could answer that. But also, I just love him, right? Because I know we said, like, because he's a baddie, but I love a villain. I love a villain who can redeem himself. And I always felt like he's going to get his book, and I always kind of felt like, we're supposed to think he's a baddie, but we know he's not going to be a baddie forever, right? And he's going to have some redeeming qualities. And so I just thought his backstory was really, really good. It was really interesting to find out more about him. Like you said, I was super interested in his relationship with Nyx. But I also like seeing him taken down a peg or two, right? Because like you said, he's very egotistical, very narcissist. And the fact that he couldn't possibly conceive that his bride would be human, it was just really funny. And he was like, he wasn't even willing to consider it, right, until quite late.
Well, and that's what's funny too, is when you look at it, he found her when she was like 14 or whatever, and he was like, oh, it's a human. Comes back, I think she was like 15, and she's making out with her boyfriend, broke his legs in jealousy. So she wasn't even possessed yet, but he was like, so it's like he was already coming back and seeing her. But then when he came back, I think she was like 18 or whatever, and she was possessed by, what is it, Soroya?
Yep.
Yeah, Soroya. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, like it's this evil dark death goddess. That's my
well, it is too, because he wasn't blooded yet, because he wasn't blooded by an immature, like by a child. So
wasn't it Hag, like, or whatever? I always forget her name, because he just calls her Hag.
Yeah.
Because I think he told him about the mate, right? And that's when he found her, because of her foretelling or whatever. So so then for him, once she's like possessed, because of prophecies and things like that never work out how it is. So he thinks, oh, this is why I thought this vessel would be mine, and it's because now she's there. So it's not because Elizabeth is now a woman. In his mind, it's like, oh no, it's because this huntress is in there, this evil person, and then she'll help me get my kingdom, like,
exactly,
get it back. Right. So
well, and if you think too, if I'm correct, again, double check because you've read these. She, I believe, is the first full-blooded human that someone's mate as well. Everyone has either been secretly something else. They've been
like half, whatever.
They've been half this, or they've been dormant, or they get like chosen and turned into it, right? And she's the first one that is pure human. And for that to be Lothaire's mate is the greatest of ironies, and why he rejects it. He says it at one point too. He's like, I would never be able to make up for what I've done. So it has to be Soroya, because she's evil like me.
Yeah.
It can't, like, when he's right on the edge of believing it, he's like, I cannot believe it, because how would I win her after what I've done? Right. And I love that moment so damn much, because it also is, as I said, like a pattern in the series, but it's straight up said it in this one, right? It's that same thing with Declan, right? Where with all of them, like they've always done something horrible to their mate. They've always done something horrible. And if they accept that this person's their mate, how do they make up for what they've done? And with Lothaire, it's like he let her, like she was tortured in a different way. Like she went to prison. She would rather get the needle than deal with this. She's been being possessed. She's woken up having slaughtered people. Like this young woman has just been through these horrors, you know? And it's
that's
like
what's so bad about like him. Like she's like, you never even apologize like for what you've done to me. Like you didn't even apologize. And then it's like him having to like finally see her like memories like near the end. It's like then he acknowledges it's like the amount of shit that she's been through, and that he was willing to like sacrifice it, get rid of her soul out of this body, and, you know, threatening her family and holding her. And, you know, she was making the best out of every situation she could. And he just, oh my God, like, you know, and then of course I get really angry with him, like turning her, even though like that scene, I was just like, but yeah, so I don't know. Like Lothaire, he's so complex. I think he's really well written to the point where it's like you think, okay, now I'm glad she didn't backtrack and make him like, oh, these vulnerabilities are this good. No, he's pretty bad all the way, pretty much the whole way through. And it takes him kind of having to go through this to be able to kind of get his mate and make up for what he's done. I don't know. Like I felt like he needed to do a little bit more than saving people out of like the mine, but
we also saw him be nice at points too. Yeah, that's the point. Is like this. He always has had the capacity for both.
Yeah,
you know, I think we see his most evil in this one, and we see his most good in this one. But that's like with Torture Island. Like we saw him both doing things for himself, but also when he has Regan fake out the death. Well, I mean, he does break her neck, but he like told her ahead of time what was going on.
Yeah,
like he didn't have to do that.
Like I thought he was really did that at first, and I was like, oh
I know,
my God, Lothaire.
I know. But it's like he always had the capacity for this. But anyway, where else to go with this? This is the book that I use. I mean, you guys know this, being my friend for so long. This is the book that I say, what is the cost that the hero has accrued, and how will he pay it off? Right?
Yeah.
I'm happy to say, though, that I think in this case, as I said, why I think you'll think it's a 6-star when you come back to it, is where you say about this one, you wish that we'd seen Declan make up for it for longer. Lothaire's not done. We see him do more throughout the series. Okay. To me, he's almost a benevolent godfather by the end of the series. Well, it's not over. And we get to see him continually being led around by his dick by Elizabeth and doing good things for people. So just putting that out there. Treats to look forward to. So he's a humiliative 6-star person for me. So
anyway, like I did love when he like carves out his heart. And, like,
okay, we can't skip to that. Okay. We gotta wait. We gotta talk
We're
about
all over the place with this. Okay.
That is like
one question I'll say is like, what did you think of? I keep forgetting her name, Soroya. Like, she was.
Oh my god!
Like, I loved how she didn't want to have anything to do with him. No sex, no thank you. Just you can have sex with the human, and you know, like I'll show up when I need to. But like. She was evil. Like she was evil.
I mean, you know, she makes you excited for Lothaire to show up. That's how horrible she is. You're like,
I was so happy when she showed up. I was like,
oh my gosh! My favorite thing is like, because you get Soroya's POV.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really get many of the like, there's a couple. You don't really get many of the baddies' POVs in these. And she has like an equal POV in the first half of the book. So you're truly like, oh my God. Is
she was like, okay, I have to act like I'm not worried here. Like I'm
yeah.
Oh yeah. And I love the thing where she's like, oh my gosh, there are consequences to my actions. And then she's gone. And I'm like, oh my God. So I really enjoy her actually, because she is kind of the reason that things get moving between the two of them. So like,
yeah.
She always annoys me that she's there, but also I like her at the same time.
Yeah.
And
then just me, I think the most evil thing that she almost did and then didn't do was when she was going to cut off Ellie's hair. And I was like, thank God Lothaire stopped her from having it cut off. I was like, please don't cut her hair.
There's bad enough she waxed her and everything. It's bad enough she did that.
But imagine waking up and your hair was suddenly super short. I was like, I think I'd rather wake up.
She woke up and she's like all groomed, you know, like she's like, what? Like I have no.
Yeah. Not having it cut off.
Also and I mean, this kind of, I do like love this moment too, which does have to do with Soroya, is the vision that Nyx shares with Lothaire when they have one of their moments where he's like, well, you got me taken to the island. And he's like, if that hadn't happened in this way, Elizabeth blows her brains out.
Yeah.
So I was looking out for you. That is one of the scenes that I like choke up every time because, I mean, thing after thing that Nyx does, of course, she brings everyone together. She's the magician of it for everyone. But like Elizabeth would have like killed herself if like she hadn't have been put in jail, or if like Lothaire had been gone one more minute longer, then she would be gone. Like all of those little things add up. But yeah, Soroya is just awful. Like,
didn't Nyx too, like, because they had that conversation where he's like, you betrayed me, where he was like living under the ground with that tree,
getting eaten.
And she's like, if I wouldn't have done that, you would have died during that time, during like that plague and like all those battles. She's like, so, and you would never have found your mate.
Yes.
So she's like,
right.
That's
she
why
counters
I did that.
Everything. Yeah, she counters every little thing and all the reasons so he's like, do I not have a reason to hate you? Like,
yeah.
And it's like, no, you don't. And
yeah, she's got to answer for everything. There's always a reason what she's doing. So
you know what 1000% is going to happen? I'm calling it right now. When and if and whoever this male will be that Nyx gets, Lothaire's totally going to show up and be like, so I hear you want to date Phoenix. I think we got to talk about, like, he's totally going to be. That's so how Lothaire is and how he is with Nyx. And like, I mean, you'll see like their relationship's even better in future books now that he, of course, is getting some. So he's going to be in a better mood, of course. But anyway, I don't know where we're at anymore. The point is, I love Lothaire.
I don't know. We're all over the place with Lothaire.
But, we were talking about Soroya. Yeah, I hate her, but she's fascinating. Like, I love that aspect added in because it gives you such stakes, right? And, that's where I was going. I'm sorry. My rabbit trails are all over the place. This is what I mean about the opposed aims, okay? And why this is the book, okay? Lothaire literally wants to remove his mate's soul so he can have the other person that's in her body. His literal aim is to destroy her. It's not even just we want opposite things, which is like in like Lucia's story or in Emma's story. Like they want different things that are opposed to their mate. Literally his desire is to destroy his mate. And Soroya is that reason. So like that's what's fascinating about the Soroya problem is like Cressley Cole literally has had him try to destroy her for half the book. And now he's like, oh shit, this country bumpkin is my mate and I've destroyed her life. Like,
The interesting thing there though is there's that moment when I think Lothaire he thinks that he's just as evil as Soroya, right? But there's a moment when he realizes that Soroya just kills because she enjoys it. And she'll just do it whenever she wants because it's fun to her. Lothaire's killed a lot of people in the course of his life. But it feels to me like he's only done it for like a purpose. Like he wouldn't just, it doesn't come across as the sort of person that would just randomly kill people. It's either people standing in his way, people that have betrayed him, or, you know, even with his mate, I don't think he wasn't even really thinking, what am I actually doing to a human, and I'm destroying their soul. He's just thinking, I need you out of the way so that I can get what I want.
Yep.
He didn't do it for fun, and I think that's the difference. And there's that moment in the book when he suddenly realized, actually, Soraya's a really bad person.
Yeah.
Well, it's like funny too when he like realizes like, oh, she's playing me, like Soraya's playing me, like she doesn't really want to be with me, she doesn't want to have sex with me, she's just using. It's like, whoa, like he's actually getting played. So it's a very fascinating, it's a crazy situation. Like that one point when like he's around like all those dead bodies and Soraya's like, what the hell, like, you know, I want to kill people, you know, like she wanted to be a part of it. But I do think it was great though, like that she did push them together, where she has him be able to get sexual with her. And like I love this scene because this, like Jen was saying, like this is the spiciest book that she wrote, and I was just like, whoa, like it was so spicy, and there's some crazy stuff, but like I love some of those sex scenes were so important. Like like I love the part where he's like getting her on, like she's almost gonna orgasm, and then like Soroya's like coming up, and he's like, no, this is yours, and like stops it, like they're trying to stop it from happening, and he wants it to be her, like he doesn't care about Soroya. And so you're seeing that shift through like their sexual stuff. So that's what I loved about those scenes.
I have more to say about that if we want to talk about Elizabeth now.
Yes, I am like all over the place with this one.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you don't have to put questions up. It's for
okay. For us, we'll talk about our country bumpkin.
Yeah, right. What an odd character. All right. I want to know your lady's first reaction to Elizabeth. You tell me what you thought of first meeting her for being Lothaire's mate. Like, what do you think? Be honest.
You go first, Helen.
I loved her straight away. Because she's young, and that's one of the things. Lothaire thinks she's too young, and he's got way more experience, and he knows better than her. But in her short life, she's been through an awful lot. And I absolutely loved her family, right? Because on the outside, you go, oh, these guys don't seem that great. They're living on a mountain, you know, they don't have a lot. But actually, they had such an amount of loyalty for each other, such a sense of family. They would do anything for each other, which is shown later when she turns up, I'm a vampire, and they're like, no problem, stay with her. Like, what kind of family would actually do that in real life?
Yeah.
And I just thought she was so smart. She was so clever. And there was parts in the book as well where she was sort of saying, there was a couple of notes I made. One where she said, you can learn to be happy, because he's like, I don't know what happiness is. And she's sort of like, you can learn to be happy, because he's like, why are you so optimistic all the time? And she's like, well, it's a choice I'm making to be happy and not miserable. And then also where she points out to him that his end game is not an end game, it's a process. There's that whole bit like, it's not an end game, it's a process. That's not the end game. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
So I love her. I think she's super clever. She's almost his perfect match in a weird way, because she's able to counter him, right? But she calms him as well. She puts through his craziness, because he's going a little bit insane, but she calms him.
Yeah.
So, and also she turns, doesn't she? At first she doesn't want anything to do with him. Then she thinks, well, maybe I can get him to fall in love with me so that he won't want to kill Soroya. And so, I feel like, she's a great character, and her story arc as we go through it is really good as well.
Yeah, I agree. I actually really liked her. I thought she was pretty courageous, because to start off of, she's like, it's like a horror movie. She's being possessed, killing people, like, and she's like, okay, well, I'm killing myself. Like, that's it. And of course, Lothaire won't let her. And then she, like, when she's in prison, she's like bettering herself in there, like got a degree, like doing whatever, but like accepting of the fact, like she was never really scared of death, because she was like, I need to die. I'm scared of having,
I'm going to kill people. Right.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be responsible. Like, she feels guilt because she would wake up in blood and have killed all these people. Like, I can't even imagine. And then now you got to try and wrangle a man like Lothaire. And so I thought she was really smart too. Like, so many times throughout the book, she manages to put him in his place, gets him to like do things that he probably wouldn't want to do. And I mean, even just like the situation with Lothaire, where it's like she was able to manipulate that situation, Lothaire wasn't. Like
he's had a brain fart. He's panicking so much. Like
like he was like, well, and that's like another thing, jumping ahead, but like what he's was willing to do once he realized she was it and he had made these vows to the Lord. Like that's when like, oh, I'm gonna kill myself so that she doesn't have to.
Oh my gosh, that scene makes me cry. It really does. Because
who would think Lothaire would do that? You know, like who would think he would do that?
He's like, well, he even tried. He tried to stay outside long enough to die. He's like, I can't do it. Like, oh my God, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't yet. I'll just cry. And he's like, I'll follow you right away. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, oh my God. It's so, anyway, yes. Well, good. I'm glad you did. Because of course I love Elizabeth now. I will admit to being like, what is this person?
Because it's not who you expected Lothaire's mate to be. So it's like, you're like, what?
And as I've said, I've only listened to these books. Besides the newest ones when they didn't have, I've only listened. And when you hear her voice as read by Petkov, it's like, what is this?
Yeah,
the Hick accent in conversation with his like deep like Dacian Russian accent. You're like, how will this be sexy? How will I like that? And I mean, of course, but in the start, it's just like, this is crazy. But as to like the type of character she is, I love her so much. I agree about her family, Helen. Like the fact that her family too, they've tried what they can to like stop her. They've tried like tying her up, but they have never tried to kill her, you know, like they weren't that type of superstitious crazy. They're like, what can we do? How can we try to stop this? And then she's like, Mama, it's too late. Like, I can't keep killing. And the mom is almost like, no, we don't do that. But at the same time, the mom was like, I understand. And I know that sounds super, like, it is dark because this is evil. But at the same time, the mom being like, I know what this is doing to you. But it's also like, well, what would happen if you did that? Would that just let this evil go to someone else? Because, like, what would happen? So I love Elizabeth with my whole soul so much. She is exactly the comeuppance that Lothaire deserves, and also so much better than he deserves in a lot of ways, too.
Yeah.
And she is also a character that does some things that I think are, like, hinted at in other books, but no one does them. The thing of like, I will use my body to live. And I have shared that I love those type of stories. I've read them in not quite the stakes of this one, right? Like that's in some, to toot the horn of like in some Claire Kent books of that's like
what I was thinking.
My body for life, for food and protection. And this one, it's literally like, I'm fighting for my soul with my little virgin body here. Like, how am I going to convince this guy to like keep me? And she realizes he likes little games. And so being able to like, well, I bet you this or that I could get you to come in your pants. Like literally makes a deal with one of the oldest beings ever. But it's like she uses what she has and she's like, I got my body. He's attracted to this body. Let's
like with her bathing suit one where she's like, oh, for whatever. And she would like pull it over to the side. And I was just like,
I know.
Good. She's good.
So like, she's just willing to do whatever she has to do. And I think she doesn't think she's going to succeed until a certain point in the book. So she's just like, whatever, I'm going to do what I've got to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be killing me. So let's see what I can do, you know? And I think it also shocks him that there can be a meeting of the minds between the two of them. Like he doesn't have a high opinion of her, obviously. He thinks she's dull-witted and stunted because of where she's from or whatever. And her being able to be like, just because I'm not a billion years old doesn't mean I don't understand how these things work. In fact, you're thinking a bit too big picture, right? And that gets him in trouble, as we mentioned, when it gets into a moment of like Lothaire, when it's like, I didn't have a plan for this, or, you know, I've been working all of my aims to kill you. And now what do I do when my plans are succeeding and I wish for anything else, right? And that's all down to Elizabeth and her quick thinking and her being willing to be humiliated and be like, I can only be humiliated if I say I'm humiliated. And there's times where he even says that. He's like, you're pathetic. Like, I could end you. And she's like, well, you're not doing that. So why don't you cut the bullshit and just admit that you want to fuck me and we can have whatever, right? Like, there's just those moments of, if there was no humor in them, this would be the darkest book that's like ever existed.
Yeah.
Kresley Cole's able to walk that line of like the banter between them being so good. So yeah, that's particularly what I think of her in like the first half of it too. It's just how clever she is. And then, yeah, I mean, yeah, do you want to talk about like Vampire Elizabeth now, or like what do you want to
First, I want to bring up,
which
is Vampire Elizabeth, but the scene that literally made me go, what the F?
Yeah.
And that's their sex scene once she's turned.
Yeah.
And the biting of the...
Yeah. Which, like, by the way, is the second one. This is not the first bloody blowjob that you've read. Just like to put that out there. It's called the bloody blowjob.
Standout one thing I think I've ever
seen. In book 1, okay? Emma also bites Lachlan's dick. And then bites her to
that
dick.
is true.
This is the hottest one. I'll agree.
But like Lothaire guides her to it. Like, like you need to do this. And I was like, wait, no, like this isn't happening. But it was hot. Like it was crazy. So I'm like, I think that was so amazing that Kresley Cole wrote that.
I mean, before that, I mean, we can talk about the sex scenes too, because before that is the scene where she makes him come in his pants. Like that is like,
which is amazing that she gets a 3,000.
That literally she humps him to completion on the couch is one of the hottest scenes in the series.
She's really good at humping, like just dry humping.
In fairness to him, he's been waiting a long time, right? So
and it feels different because it's like his mate. So it's like now he's feeling so heightened. Like I love it, like he's so alpha and a jerk and all these things, but like in the sex, like he like gives control to her in scenes.
Wow.
Like, and then he like goes slow, like because he doesn't want to hurt her.
Yes.
When you think he wouldn't really care. So and she's like ready for it, like, can we just, have sex already? So I think the sex scenes were amazing in this book.
He's like that when she's human.
Kind of that's what I'm talking about.
Right? Because he even doesn't like fully seek control, because he will then like take it back because he's like, well, you're not doing it fast enough. And she's like, because there's that scene, like he doesn't touch her because he doesn't want to pop her like a grape, as he says. And that's what makes it so hot, is it's like he's restraining himself. And so, but yeah, there's so many scenes because that's what that's what the tools are that she has.
Yeah.
And no, good stuff.
So what did you guys think about the turning? Like when he turns her? Because that was when I got upset.
Okay.
But I understood him, like, and why he did it. But he's so like, I know what's best. You're going to be happy about this later. Just suck it up. But she's like, just give me time. Get me time to get used to it. And he's just like, nope. And then which I found it interesting. I was thinking, oh, when he turns her, he's going to have to, drink from her and do all this. And he just did like the ring thing. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. I'll say this first, because I'll put this out. This book breaks so many things. Of course I'm mad at him, but also he does the thing that gets everyone in trouble when they don't do what they should do. Like the thing is, he needs to turn her immediately. He's the enemy of old. Everyone's going to come after her. Someone's going to get her. She's a human. He's only kept her as a human because he thought he was going to get rid of her soul. So now it's like, you immediately need to be one. And I don't have time to argue with you, because what happens in another book? Any other hero or main male character would be like, okay, I'll give you a week. And guess what? She'd get kidnapped and killed in a week. Yeah. Right? And that would be a tragedy. He's like, nope, I'm not waiting 1 second. I'm doing it right now. And so we hate him, and it's great. It does our antagonism for the second half of the book. But I love that scene because he does the thing that the heroines are like, no, give me. And then he dies.
Wasn't the part that annoyed me the most that made this like not the 6 star. It was like when you know, everything with his almost beheading, and then like her being taken by the Valkyries, and him basically being like, all right. And I'm like, you're just gonna let her go? Like, I was so mad. Like, I was okay with like the turning because, you know, I like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And it led to some really hot, you know, sex. And then she was all good, and then she wakes up all like, you know, I'm like, stop being a brat. You're immortal now.
Sure.
Sure. But I mean, I agree with you in the fact that it was a bit like shocking that he did it so abruptly, and he didn't even really have a conversation with her. She's like, wait, let's just talk this out. And he's like, no, I'm doing it. And you're right, Jenny, like, needs to do it. And it's good that he did it. Otherwise, we're going to be in a predicament later. But he also totally redeems himself, because later we discover that we don't actually hear what he says to the ring. We just know that she's turned. And later we know that he's given her none of the weaknesses, right? So he actually listened to the fact that she wanted to be able to be in sunlight again.
Gave her the sunlight.
And he gave her that.
Gave her the sunlight.
Yeah. So momentarily we think he's a bad person, but actually he's still the great thing.
No, Amber, I'm not saying you're right. Those things frustrate me, and it's again, especially the first time you read it, you're like, oh my god, why? We've got through all this stuff, Cressley. You still have 60 pages left. Why'd you do this? But it's that final piece that is very needed, because up to this point, in all honesty, Lothaire got the easy way to all of this, okay? She's not holding anything against him as up to that point. She's just swept it under the rug because she's like, okay, I'm alive now. Okay, he's my fated mate. We're having good sex. This will be okay. Like, she's challenged him, but he's gotten his way with all of it.
Yeah.
But now he's made a creature as strong as he is, and actually more powerful than he is in some ways, because he hasn't given her the weaknesses of his. She's not going to go crazy from drinking blood. She won't die in the sun. He's made her a perfect vampire. And then he still thinks he's going to mansplain to her, which again, in some aspects, he is an old being. So like, I also want to be like, girl, he does know better than you. But it's infuriating because he said, I know better than you for the entire book. So do I still get sick every time she swings the axe at his head? Yes. Every time I'm like, oh God, don't do it, Elizabeth. You're going to hate yourself. But he deserves it. He deserves it so hard for just like what he put her through. And because it's a romance, you're like, well, he's going to be fine. But then he has to go and pout, too, because he's like, you just tried to kill me. Like, you just tried to kill me.
Well, and he's like, oh, well, because she was going to tell him she loved him, but then he turned her, and then so she's like, I'm not telling you. And so then he's like, oh, this was all an act. And so in his head, well, she did try to kill me. Yeah. So maybe she didn't really care about me.
Right. But
hit to the ego.
The very best part of the whole book is that he literally grows a new heart, which is why he can now. He literally gets a fresh heart for her. Like love gives him a new heart, and that is one that if you do ever someday listen to the episodes of Fated Mates when they go through this, like I love their analysis of what that means of her sending him her middle finger and he sends her back his heart. And at first you're just like, wow, that's a really crude like thing. Whatever, like okay, you're a vampire, you can do that, but like. It's actually super symbolic because he grows a new heart and it softens him. And he's like, okay, I made her life hell.
But also, you're right, it's symbolic because it's not about just him growing his own heart. But how many times have we sort of read in other romances, I'd cut out my heart for you? And this is a literal time when someone cut out their heart for another person. And he's kind of doing it in a bit of anger, like, I'm cutting it out. You killed me. You've basically destroyed my heart, so you might as well have it. Yeah. Well, I just
he's in his kingdom. We're forgetting too. He gets everything he's wanted. He's king of the Dacians, and he doesn't have her. Anyway, keep going, Helen. Sorry.
Well, you know what's funny too is the Dacians like wanted her. You know, like they were like, we wanted you with your mate, like not you. Like.
Okay. Anyway.
No, but I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, it's no. So again, I know how frustrating it is to read it a first time because it's like, you know, and then getting kidnapped by the Valkyries before we can do anything about it.
Well, then I was like, who's this Valkyrie? I was like, I don't even remember this chick. I know she was introduced, but I was kind of like, I don't even remember.
Oh yeah, who was it? Who was it?
I can't remember her name.
Something beginning
Do
with
you remember,
C.
Helen?
Something beginning with C, I feel.
Was it
Callie? Calla? No.
I don't remember.
Probably be able to find it.
Well, Regan shows up.
Yeah, they were like playing video games.
Yeah,
It's actually Fury's sister, right? I mean, I know they're all sisters, but it's actually Fury's actual sister, I think.
Well, there's only 3, I think, of the actual sisters, but technically all of them are because they're of the same parent.
Mhm.
You know, like they're a creature all of the same place.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well, because she kidnaps her and then kind of just like doesn't want to deal with her, wants to get rid of her immediately. Even when like Lothaire isn't coming for her, she's just like, well, let's get rid of her. But the other ones are like, no, you know. But yeah. I don't know. That was weird. Okay. I was like, who's this?
Serafina.
Okay.
Yeah. I also don't know. Easy Serafina. Because I believe like all of the Valkyries have a romance. I'm trying to remember who's Kara with. That might be one of the ones I haven't read a million times. I'll have to look up. But yeah, just waiting on Fury. Well, we should talk about that a little bit too. The tidbit of Fury that because she can't find Fury. Right.
And I got confused about the Fury thing because they all hate Lothaire because he was the one that got Fury and put her in the ocean, right? Or whatever. But then he would say, oh, I don't know where she is. But then he does reveal he did do it because it was ordered or whatever.
Yeah, but he doesn't now know what it is, and it's revealed in this one that he's been searching for her, but wherever he dropped her happens to be in a really unstable part of the ocean, and she's long since moved from wherever he's dropped her.
Oh, those do you guys know who her mate is, Fury's mate is? Has that been
I was guessing it was gonna I don't know. I had like a guess, but I don't think
I guess it's revealed in a book soon. So I was just wondering if you know it yet. I don't know. Okay. Because that isn't for us like Nyx, it's unknown. We know who her mate is, but we don't know where she is. But that is a carrot that has been getting closer and closer to us. And I think hers is supposed to be the next one.
Still not out.
You know how the epilogue of each book kind of sets up the next one? Well, at the end of Shadows, whatever, that one's coming. So that one's coming. But yeah, that's one that's been going since book 1. Okay. That one's been set up since book 1, if you remember. We talked about it. But
I think this is the frustrating thing about the couples, because obviously as we go through, we get introduced to more and more couples. And you kind of think, oh, I hope the next book is this next couple that seems to play quite a big role. But then she kind of backtracks to go back to previous couples. And then it's a few more books till you get that couple. And then I think there's characters that we've still not got books for. So I'm like, like Hag, for instance. I don't know if Hag does get a story, but I'm like, does Hag get a story? I like Hag. And then, but she seemed to, I don't know, I felt like
what's her name? Mallory? Is her name Balthury?
Balthury.
Yes. It's so sad that I can't remember her name because he calls her Hag.
He only calls it Owen.
You will. Like we see Hag more. Now that she's not working for Lothaire all the time. We see Hag more. But
I really liked her character a lot in this. She was like one of my favorite side characters. And then the other, of course, Thad coming back.
Yes.
I part that I want to bring up.
I was like, girl, even though they're like the same age, like they're the same age.
What was great about that scene too is like, you know, Lothaire reacts and is violent to people or whatever. He doesn't get violent toward that and that. And you would think like when he smells it on her, he like thinks it through and he loves Thad, you know? It's like, so, you know, you would have expected if it was somebody else, he probably would have like gone after his ass, but he didn't because it was Thad. And so and Thad is just like, why are you doing this to me?
Yeah. He's like, he's gonna hurt me. Stop it. And he's a teenage boy, so it's like, don't make me get hard. Like he doesn't say that, but that's the truth. He's like, don't do it. But again, this is one too where you see how he does care about them because of the lies he can't tell. Like when he tries to say, I don't like you, he can't even say like, I don't like you. And he can't say like, oh, I would kill, like he can't say any of that stuff to him. And I just thought it was so I love it so
Yeah,
much.
so I'm really like, that's the next thing I'm anticipating is Thad's book, you know, like that's what I want.
Does he get one?
Not as of yet. He's still a baby.
Because he's still young, right? He's too little yet.
Yeah.
Like I said, time does not pass quickly. He is literally like 17, just turned 18, and he still is that. But as I said, you will know more about him. Like you'll learn what the phantoms are and what that has to do with him. So no, I won't say that. But as we,
you gotta edit yourself soon.
I know. Well, I'm not going to spoil, but in the second half of the series, the next one I want to join for is Sweet Ruin. I will happily join for Sweet Ruin. That's the other that is highly regarded as people's like second favorite. And I mean, it is mine too. I'm a basic bitch when it comes to the Immortals After Dark. People, but I was going to reference what Helen said about like, that is the struggle, in my opinion, of the long series where we get more couples all the time, is because it's like, can an author drag something out too long, right?
Yeah.
And there are times in the second arc of the story where I start to be like, okay, we haven't like, it doesn't mean I'm not liking the books, but that overarching story she's going for, it's like, come on.
Let's get to the couple.
Right? And I still look at like how many couples I want there to be. There's for sure like 3 couples that have to happen. I don't know which other one she has planned in there, but there's at least 3 that have to happen because they just have to. Like, but then there are other ones mixed in that I ended up like, again, like Sweet Ruin. This couple didn't exist to anyone like before their book. I'll say that to you guys, that one. And it is fan-fucking-tastic. That book is fantastic. And so it's not like Kresley can't do whatever the hell she wants, but this is the pattern in all of the long-standing paranormals where you have a new couple every time. Is there's always that couple you're excited for, and the author either makes you wait too long for them and then you don't care by the time it's there, or they give you that couple but then keep writing and then people aren't interested anymore. So what's an author to do? And I think one of the beautiful things is that I look at the series as a whole and I'm like, it's too long. Like, just get to it. But when I'm reading the individual books, I'm like, I would read these forever. Like, just keep writing them. It's fine. So anyway,
Well, that's an interesting thing because she's been writing them for 15 years, and you're like, it's a bit an investment. So I never read them before. So this is an investment, right? If I'm going to catch up. But equally, if I started reading them 15 years ago, I probably would have just lost interest before now, and there probably would have been some books she would have brought out, and I'd not gone back to it.
Right. I do hope, that's the beauty of the company, that the publisher that's republishing them now is hopefully this will get a whole new audience to them because they hold up really well. They do. And I did, of course, like reread book 1 when I annotated a new copy of that one for someone. And really all that's changed is a bit of the like dated language, like they didn't change the non-con in there, any of that stuff. It's all like there and everything, but they did update some of the
like technology. An iPod or whatever, when she had like an iPod and like
I think so. Technology. But like the car navigation too or something, it's just like what it is or whatever. And that's the beauty of this series is it's like it's not really dependent on stuff because technology doesn't work around the magic, so you don't really have but is there anything else of this one? There's so much.
The only other thing that really stood out was the ending where Lothaire is now just he was someone who no one liked. He didn't have any friends, and suddenly by the end he's got more friends than he knows what to do with, and I feel like he's a little bit bewildered by the situation.
Right. Especially when her family loves him.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. When Mama's like, you need to forgive him. Okay, forgive him.
I don't think he was expecting her family to be so accepting of him. Like, he's like,
we'll visit.
And I love that scene too, where she's like, let's live here, and he's like, no. I'll give you a mansion anywhere. We can live in this.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, those are the little things that are so cute. I'm trying to think if there was any more of the big stuff, but
there's so many like funny things with him.
Yeah.
So I just
Yeah. One of the things I wonder too is, what do you think? I want to ask this where you guys are at. What do you guys think of Lothaire, the like monster / being that she is? Because that's something that's laid from pretty early on. If you'll remember, someone woke her up.
Yeah.
And we get to this point. Yeah.
Well, and you know what's so funny? I just got to bring up at the audiobooks, it cracks me up too when he's like,
yeah, oh my god, I hate that noise. That's what it sounds like, Helen, if you ever listen to it. Lothaire, it goes ring.
Yeah, it doesn't ring, but
it just sounds like it's so uncomfortable.
Well, I love how she has like Wendigo like things. Like I'm like, oh, like I could just see that like in my mind. Like, so I'm like, it's like a horror movie type of like crazy creature that like she has as her like bodyguards just rolling with her. I don't know. I was always like, I love how she's like she's growing, right? Everything's reforming again. Although he did take her eye or whatever. Like that was as crazy as his fight with her in the previous book. I thought was really cool. And then like, but this one I actually really liked her because she took out Soraya. So I was like, oh,
she has the book her now. She has his book now.
Yeah. And what's he gonna do with that?
Like, ends up being really interesting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But Lothaire knows what's in that book too. So I think, Jen, you're right. Maybe he will play a bit of a role.
You know, like, is she going to have like Rydstrom or he's going to have to do stuff for her? Like these characters that I care about, I'm like, oh no.
Well, isn't it said that he blacked out some stuff before he
maybe
blacked out a few names? He says that at some point. He's like, I blacked out a few names before I handed it over.
Yeah. Well, like he took out Hag or whatever her name is so that she wouldn't have to.
I call her Hag, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
One thing I will bring up, Jen, that I was like, was Webb. Like the ending with Webb with like, I'm like, oh my God, what's going to go on with this? Now when he like fed off him and like, so I'm like, oh no, we're going to have a new big bad. Like, so I'm very curious with like that, what's going to go on with Webb.
Well, it's we don't know what it's going to turn into yet, right? We know he's going to change, but we don't know what.
Yeah. Well, and if you got the hint of it, as I maybe kind of why I said it wasn't his daughter, it was his daughter's friend.
Yeah.
Like Webb has a daughter. So, you know, there's a female out there who could possibly be the child of your greatest enemy. That seems like a Cressley Cole situation.
Definitely.
Who was tortured the most? Who's tortured the most? It would be what you think of, but yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, obviously could talk this forever, but I know it's getting late.
I know we've been on here for an hour and a half, so we should probably wrap it up. But thank you so much, you guys, for joining me this time. Like, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know I'm kind of all over the place with these, but
yeah. I mean,
I had such a good time with these two books. I think they were like my favorite so far. So it was a great time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you watch back later, you know, just leave me a comment or anything. All right. Bye, guys.
See you guys later. Have a good day. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye, Helen. Bye.